Yeah, that was kind of a stretch comparison, I know. But look, in this video, we're going to talk about 3 ways you can turn your slice from mediocre into a truly offensive weapon. True story for you today. When I started tennis, this is way too long ago, I started tennis with a slice. And the funny thing was I had no coaching, no guidance. The sports center I went to, it was chaotic as heck. People running around, there's no guidance or training or anything. But I loved the game from the get-go. I had to figure things out, and the slice was really easy for me to get started with. And why is that? Well, it's a more natural motion, and I could feel the ball in the strings. I didn't know how to hit topspin, so I just started slicing and said, you know what, I'm going to go for the slice. So I sliced for the first 6 to 8 months. I sliced every single shot, and I learned how to hit a good slice before anything else. And you know what? I was playing. They had a little match play clinic for kind of beginner, intermediate level players, and I went 34-3 in sets, like in somewhere mini sets. But man, I'm like, man, I found magic here, right? I was winning a lot. And so why was this? So have you ever played ping pong like as a tennis player? And as a tennis player, you have pretty good hand-eye coordination, the racket sport, right? You're pretty good. You can hit the ball okay as a tennis player playing ping pong. But if you've ever played someone who really knows how to play ping pong and they're hitting all the spins, the grips and topspin and the serves, and the balls, you just touch the ball, it spins off your racket or off your paddle, well, you're like, oh my God. Then, you see that separation. And the same thing, when I learned how to slice, especially at the lower level, people could not deal with the slice. Now, hit that subscribe button, because we're actually going to, in the near future, create a video how to destroy the slice, right? So people don't pick you apart with the slice and keep the ball at your feet. But we're talking slice today, and even at an advanced level, intermediate to advanced level, you can still do a number of amazing things with a slice. And for many matches, you see even a lot of the pros, like Stevie Johnson, Feliciano Lopez. They're not the best, but they play on a pro level with exclusively almost a slice backhand most of the time. So how do they do it? There's a number of ways you can make your slice, instead of just mildly effective, to very effective and super, super effective. All right? And we're going to show you how. And the slice is so dynamic. You can punch it deep. You can drop it short. You can use it on defense. You can use it on offense. It's one of the most dynamic shots in the game. It can take your game to the next 2 or 3 levels up if you learn how to use it properly. So we're going to talk about 3 slices today. The first slice is the most commonly used one. It's the defensive slice. So oftentimes you're playing strong defense. You're playing an opponent who hits the ball hard, and you want to drop back a few feet behind the baseline, and you hit a slice here, but you're not going to hit any ordinary slice. You're going to loft the slice up with a high trajectory with a lot of backspin. So you want it spinning back really fast. You drop it on the baseline here, it bounces up. And a sitter on the baseline, well, at the pro level, it can get attacked. Now, most of us aren't playing at the pro level, right? But at any other level, even in college, if you drop it deep with no pace, and you're thinking, why do I want no pace? Well, very simple. No pace and deep, you force your opponent to generate all the pace on the ball and try to hit a winner on you. That's a tough proposition for your opponent. A lot of times they're going to go for too much and miss. All right. Now, how do we hit this defensive slice? Well, the defensive slice, obviously you're doing all the same things, staying low, bending your knees, getting a coil here. But when you hit through your slice, you might use a little more follow through, a little bit more elongation on the stroke. And what does this elongated stroke do? Well, it gives you a little bit more racket head speed to create more backspin, right? And this elongated stroke, a lot of times the ball is coming hard and fast. By having an elongated slice, where I finish up here and through the shot, it widens my margin of error. So I can float that ball back deep, it sits up, I can play defense, I can get back inside the court. And you see Fed all the time on the chip return, you see him split and use that defensive slice to get into every single point. So on the drills, you're going to see almost a slow lob with heavy backspin. So like a lot of loft dropping deep close to the baseline. And I'm going to follow through just a touch more than I normally do to get a little extra spin and racket head speed. So here I'm going to hit 3 slices. The first is going to be a defensive slice, then we're going to talk later about the neutral slice, and finally the offensive slice later. So watch the follow through on the defensive slice, right? See, each progressive slice has a little bit more knife to it. So here is a great example of defensive slice at work. All right, I want to get it hopefully deeper than that. See, like that one right there, just a little bit more air and a little bit more spin than normal. Slows the ball down, okay, keeps me alive in the point. Okay, that last one was a good angle, but here you see pretty much the same thing. My opponent wants to drive the ball and attack on me. I want to slow it down with that slice. And look, not to say he can't hit a winner on this, but anyone who's impatient will have a very rough day against a good defensive slice. Look, now that one isn't that good of a shot, that last one, and he's going to run a combo on me, but you get the point. When you defensive slice well, it neutralizes the point. Now this is a very strange point you're about to watch, because the student here, he crushes the ball, he's in offensive position, but elects to hit this weird kind of inside out slice. But now you see him on the defensive, again, a little bit more loft, and he knows if he can drop it deep to my forehand, he knows that he can, you know, he's not going to get attacked very much. Again, putting a little extra air than normal, keeping me back. And now, at some point, you want to take control of the point again, so this isn't too smart to do it forever. And even at the pro level, although normally Fed would put a defensive slice away with his forehand, sometimes it works if you drop it deep enough. Now that was a defensive slice. Next slice we're going to talk about is going to be your bread and butter. So we're not going to say as much about this one, the neutral slice. The neutral slice, you won't have as much elongated follow through. You're going to have a little bit more stoppage. And why is that? When I stop a little bit more here, and we do a drill called stop and pop, and that's another video. Okay, we won't get too much into that. All right, but when I don't follow through as much and I kind of stop here, I can focus the power a little bit more. And because I obviously want to hit it lower over the net, I want a little bit more drive and penetration. I still want some spin, okay? And this is a slice where you can hit it up the line, you can hit it cross court, you can hit a neutral slice and angle, you can even approach the neutral slice. You can do a lot of things with it and mix it up. This is going to be your bread and butter. Okay, so the neutral slice, unlike the defensive slice, is going to be hit much lower. Now it still has a lot of heavy backspin, just with a little bit more bite, and that's on the little bit of stop and pop I talked about. I'm not following through quite as much, again, to give it more depth and penetration into the court. So the defensive slice has the most follow through. Neutral slice is somewhere in the middle compared to the offensive slice, which is even shorter. So the reason why you should really focus on placement here with the neutral slice, because it's not quite hard enough to take away time from your opponent, and it's not quite soft and high enough with backspin like the defensive slice to make them generate power. It's somewhere in the middle, but it's going to be again, the shot you go to most. Like there, I open up the court with it, and again, because you're still hitting with heavy backspin, it will still cause your opponent a lot of trouble, especially if you place it well. Now look at Feliciano Lopez on the top, who uses a lot of slice backhand, and he's playing Fed, who has a great slice as well. Okay, but he does a great job, Feliciano, again, and because he has to out of necessity of moving that slice around, and because he has such great movement on it, you working all 4 corners, this is the only reason why he can hit so much slice and survive on the pro tour. Well, sort of. Now I use the neutral slice a lot, and sometimes I use it a little bit like the offensive slice, but we're going to touch on the offensive slice, which is what it sounds like. You're hitting it hard, almost like a ground stroke. Okay, now the offensive slice, I'm going to demo this. It's not a shot I use particularly much in my game, because for a number of reasons. When you hit an offensive slice, you stop much harder after contact, like you're knifing the ball here. So you keep your posture very straight, and you almost knife the ball, right? You see. Now this, for the offensive slice, I'm doing a few things. When I stop and pop really hard at this one point, I'm concentrating all the energy right there. I'm not doing an elongated strike zone where I get loft and spin. I don't want loft. I want it to knife and go hard and flat. I don't even need as much spin because you want it flatter. Again, this is a flat, offensive, aggressive slice, hitting it like a ground stroke. Okay, so I'm going to stop it much harder at contact so the racket head can whip around. Right, we cover this in the online accelerator program. Okay, how the fundamentals work on this. What I'm also doing is, instead of using a shoulder swing to slice more under the ball, I'm using more forearm to meet the ball flatter. Like if I'm doing I used to do Taekwondo back in the day. It's like you're hitting a back fist in Taekwondo, bang, 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 right? Bang. And so I'm coming and hitting it much flatter, and you can see the racket flatten out at contact, which creates a more driving spin. So here's the offensive slice on the Fed ball. Okay, again, I'm flattening it out a lot more at contact because I don't want it spinny. I want it flatter to drive it low and hard and fast. My posture is very straight, and I'm stopping and popping much harder to focus that energy and really knifing it into the court. Now, it takes a lot of stress on my forearm, so I don't use it very often. But you can see the difference between the offensive slice there, okay, and this will, to me, this is really impractical for a lot of players who don't have the strength. Even the ones we're showing you here with the offensive slice, they aren't true offensive slices because both the student and I aren't that strong, but he will use it on occasion, especially when someone is coming into net like this. Again, I thought he was going to hit 2 defensive slices, but he hit 1 defensive slice and then knifed one, right? Just a little harder, or on the approach like this. So on the pass or on the approach where you need a little bit more speed through the court, that's where that knife like that is going to come in handy. Lastly, the thing with all these slices, look, when you get this coil, when you see Federer, if you just Google Federer's slice, when you see his loaded position, you get the racket all the way up behind his ear. So look at the shoulder turn, the shoulders engaged, the wrist is fully coiled here, and then he goes into the slice. And especially for the neutral and offensive slices, make sure you get that coil all the way up here, all the way back here. You can see me from every angle. Right? A lot of players I coach, the issue is you're doing this like, half-ass kind of slice where you're loading the muscles, but look at where the racket is. It's not behind you, it's right here, and then you have no power on the slice. Now if you're hitting a little chip like this, okay, I can see you don't need as much coil, and you might not want as much coil. But if you're hitting these slices, you want a lot of coil. And now with these slices, look, it opens up the court tremendously for you. You're going to keep your opponents off balance. You're going to keep them guessing. And you know what? I won a lot of matches slicing a lot. You're going to run into a lot of opponents with these extreme Western grips, or in fact lazy opponents who don't want to bend their knees and dig out your slices. With these 3 slices, you're going to spread the floor like you've never spread the floor before. You're going to make so much dynamic play in your play style. And now look, if you hit a hard flat slice, okay, I don't use a hard flat slice as much because my 2-hand drive is pretty good, all right? But you can use this in substitution or just to give your opponent different looks. Again, if you're the baseball pitcher who throws the same pitch every single time, if you hit the same defensive slice every single time or the same neutral slice every time, believe me, that's the difference between it getting crushed and you doing the crushing. All right, so hit that subscribe button below. We have a lot of juicy stuff coming out for you. Okay, we'll see you on the next video.